Before we get into today's topic, I have one question for you. Are you still painting your floors for 5S markings, things like that? Don't do that. Head over to mightylinetape.com/podcast, a great partner in safety. They've been with us from the beginning. They have some really good products that are going to get you out of a whole lot of time, material, and maintenance and upkeep. Their floor marking tape is second to none. It takes up easily, doesn't leave a sticky residue. They've got floor tape with beveled edges for forklift traffic, carts, things like that. So it really holds up well to that kind of traffic in your facility. They also can do custom floor signs. If you have a particular logo or a message, they can make that happen. Get a free sample and try it for yourself. Again, head over to mightylinetape.com/podcast. Tell them that we sent you. You will get a free sample to try out in your facility today. Again, mightylinetape.com/podcast.
All right. In this episode, we are going to talk to our good friend, Lori Frederic, the Movement Ninja, once again. So this is the technically the sixth time she did a takeover episode. So the sixth time Lori is joining us on the podcast. So she's a regular officially. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Is it really the sixth time?
Yeah. So the last episode was, I remember the thumbnail I used was me going, "This is your fourth time." And then you did the takeover episode by yourself.
Okay.
So that was the fifth.
Geez.
And now this makes number 6. So I don't know what that is officially, but I know what a hat trick is. I know there's three-peat, right? Hat trick. But like once you get beyond that, it's just, you're just a part of the show. You're just
there we go.
part of the program. There you go.
That.
So we are going to talk about some really cool stuff. We're going to talk about work conditioning, twisting. Should we twist? Should
Lifting
we not twist?
and twisting. Dun, dun, dun.
So what's exciting about this episode is that normally we are doing this remotely, right? But we're actually in person this time. Actually, damn, that hurt.
I've been working out.
You have been working out. So I'm down here in Fort Myers.
Yes.
And your new base of operation. Right?
Yes.
The mothership.
It is home base headquarters for Balance Biomechanics now in Fort Myers, Florida.
Yeah. And you still get back to Denver or Colorado, I should say. You still have clients?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you will travel?
Yes, we'll travel. Always still traveling and all the things, gearing all back up for that. I have been now. So back to normal, so to speak.
And I asked you about this last time, and you were still working on it, and you've teased everybody about this, and that is your resource. It's coming. It's coming
right now. Finally, in the 6th episode, the Fit Stop has officially launched and is rolling out. So
yes,
it was really. I should have hired some people.
Right.
Anyway,
it was hard, wasn't it?
It was. It was a lot of time and effort.
See, when I launched the community site, it was super easy because I literally just said, "This is my first post." You have this library. It's the volumes of material, handouts, instructional videos, short videos, longer videos. Like you had to categorize, you had to like get it all in one spot. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And that, it was cool to realize, wow, I have a lot of content. And I had a lot of people just always asking, they're like, "Hey, do you have stuff for this?" I'm like, "I know I've sent you this before, but can't you go?" And it's like, "Can't you go through my YouTube channel?"
I can see you. Please see my previous replies.
No, I don't per my last email. I don't do that.
That's hilarious.
But in my head,
right.
In my head, I'm like, okay, it's there still. But so that just
what it tells you is that's not it's not a long-term sustainable approach for getting resources to people that ask for them. So instead of all these one-offs, it's like we're going to build a resource library, right?
Yes, and it helped me to know where I have more videos, where I don't, and so how I can fill in and PDFs. Yeah, it's great to just put everything in one place. And I think for people who really want, who like to have regular safety content to put out, and then it will continue to build. And then I have new subcontractors and people that are going to help me with FitStop virtual appointments, that their content then will also be in the library. So it's just going to get bigger and bigger.
I think you just said something that made me think about this. There's a huge benefit of like categorizing your stuff, virtually laying them out on a table and seeing. And so did you learn like, wow, I've done a lot of content around this particular activity or muscle group, and I don't have a whole lot of this other one.
Well, yeah. And I mean, for kind of obvious reasons, I mean, hip problems.
Right.
there's a lot of hip
problems,
stuff, right? Well, just and selfishly me, I needed, it's what I do for my hip, and then that turned into other things. And yes, what people would complain about most on hips and knees. So it's there, but I think it's fairly well-rounded. Mm-hmm. I'm sure content that'll be really fun to look back on and giggle at. So I did that. That's a doorbell.
That's the home office life right here. Okay, so today we're going to follow up on something that we kind of talked about or touched on, or I don't know, maybe we teased it. Is that, and it's a follow-up to your takeover episode, the crappy lifts happen.
Yes.
And so here's the question, Lori, should we, and it's kind of a rhetorical question, but we're going to get into it. Should we be telling workers, don't twist, ever? We'll start with ever.
Right. Should we teach them you have to be in a bubble? No, because that's just not realistic for most part. And it's not how the body was meant to move, and it's not how it was built.
Okay. So when we say you walk up, and I know we were joking, we talked earlier. Yes, you're a robot. Walk up, take 2 steps forward, pick up box. We almost do step by step how to pick up box. Yeah. Shuffle. Right. Yeah. It's like a dance move.
Who does that?
Dancers. I don't know. So the robot, yes. I don't know that many people do it that way. So, but if we know that, or we think we know that's what leads to injuries, like in the workplace setting, we're concerned with recordables, right?
Right.
So how do we hold those two, like that's not how we're meant to move, and it's not natural, but yet we have to we still have to think we have to control it.
I think it's
frustrating because you can't control people.
Right, you can't control people.
Yeah.
I'm always going to go back to education. Mm-hmm. People need to understand how their bodies work and move. The spine was actually built as a really strong structure. It is meant to bend and twist. It's obviously not meant to twist in the same direction all day long. Like repetitive movements are still a risk.
Yeah.
However, there are certain education components that I think are really important of then if you're twisting one direction all the time, then the other direction should be available as well. So like my favorite thing, as we were having a previous conversation about golfers have some pretty messed up bodies sometimes because they are continually rotating in the same direction.
Same movement.
And so one of the corrections I tell people who golf all the time is that at the end of your round, at least take like 10 or 15 swings in the opposite direction. Find some long grass. You don't have to get a left-handed club or an opposite-handed club or anything.
It's just the motion you're after.
It's just the motion. Yeah. It's the neurological training. Because the brain is a huge component of that. Because if it thinks, well, my home base is this direction, then the one time you go in the other direction, the brain is like, what is going to happen? And then we have this reaction again, and we don't.
So you just made me think of something. You do that a lot. Darn it, Lori, stop that.
I love that.
This stuff is not just good for your muscles, right? It's good for your brain.
Yes.
Right? Especially as we get older, which I'm getting older. it's good to exercise your brain to make your brain think differently, or rewire. I don't know if it's rewiring. I'm stupid right now, so I don't know what I'm saying, but is that a thing?
It is a thing.
Oh,
there's
awesome.
so super cool. New word of the day: neuroplasticity, meaning that
I can't even write that down.
I know, don't write that down.
Okay.
But that does mean that you are rewiring, and you can rewire, and that's why they say like Alzheimer's prevention moves are right left-handed sometimes, or do things both directions, because it challenges your brain, both sides of it and all the things. So yeah, I mean there is that.
Wow. So a neighbor of mine, their doctor said one of the things you can do, they have a family history of Alzheimer's in their family, but they said, hey, once you hit about 50, this was several years ago, because we're past that now, but I am at least.
Not yet. Almost.
Hang on to it.
I know.
You start counting backwards at 48, 49. So was learn a language, learn a foreign language, another language, because the brain, it keeps the brain from, I guess, atrophy. I guess is just thinking things. So this is another one. Physically, you can do different things. So I write with my left hand, but that's it.
Naturally.
Correct.
Oh.
Everything else is right-handed, and I blame my parents. So my mother was left-handed, so when I was little, crayons would always went in the left hand, and my dad, sports,
right?
Throwing the balls, golf, batting. I learned everything was right-handed.
So don't blame them. Thank them, because
I have to blame them for everything,
because that's what you do with parents.
That's what you do.
Okay.
So I never thought of that. I can paint with my right hand, like painting, not like painting a wall.
Right.
That gross
like
motor.
talent.
Yeah,
like
good. Sketches, drawing, and painting. Yeah,
you write with your left. Oh, that's super. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't write too well with my right, so maybe I'll take you up on that and start practicing.
Well, make sure you turn in your brain for science, because that's really it is. It's unusual. It's unique.
No, I know a lot of people like that. We went to Topgolf the other night. We had a big team outing, and somebody else was saying they write with their left hand and
do everything.
They golf with their right. Yeah.
Well, it's somewhat unique, I want to say. So put it out there anyway. Yeah. But so yes, it is body and brain, which makes it super cool. So I don't want to come out there and say that, okay, no matter what twisting you're doing, there's not a problem.
Sure.
Because of course there needs to be some build up and progression to it. And so I've been thinking about this conversation because I put it out on LinkedIn, and this whole question, and the picture, a photo of, a farmer baling hay, and he wasn't a fit farmer baling hay. It just happened to be the photo that I found. And so it's what I hear time and time again when we're talking about twisting, and people who have grown up on a farm, and they're like, have you ever thrown a bale of hay? I have not, but however, there's a multiple billion exercises in the gym now that you can do, twisting core motions. I believe that's
to condition
yourself for that. So someone who years and years have never twisted, you don't go right into throwing medicine balls against the wall. However, I think it's really important to condition up to it and at least introduce it. So our Balance Biomechanics mobility warm-up includes a spinal twist in it on purpose.
Pre-shift warm-up.
Pre-shift warm-up.
Yes, not stretching, not long stretching. That stretching isn't work prep. I remember you taught me that.
There you go, yes.
So that was going to be my next question is the frustration that we have in our industry as safety professionals inside organizations. It's we don't do physicals. It's not practical. We're trying to hire as many people as we can. They're all qualified to do the job technically, but they may not be. We don't know their physical, ability. We don't ask. We maybe can't ask some things. I get all that. So is that where an organization should start, with a warm-up program, to get
Ideally, yes. Ideally, yes. I think you've got to start with some sort of a warm-up program, at least to tell them, hey, here are some movements that are involved in your work. Let's learn how to do them. Because again, that physical assessment and pre-testing, not everybody can have.
Right.
But I believe at least the conversation, like at least put in a video of here are the movements of work tasks. How do you think you should prepare your body for that, and kind of have conversations?
And you're big on this one. It's movement. It's simulating movements, or like it's not just all right, everybody.
Right. It's not piece by piece.
Right.
So
okay.
I'm big on that old school stretch and flex of part by part, and single joint movements have got to stop.
Okay.
Work doesn't happen in single joints. I guess if you're at the desk, but we don't need to warm up for the desk. We need to recover from the desk.
Don't we?
So
I know I do.
there's all of that. But
okay.
so I am big on that. It should mimic the work tasks that you're going to, but squats mimic most tasks. You just have to be creative of putting a couple together. Ideally, yes, we would love a lot of physical work tasks and workers to have some sort of mobility program that warm up and do the things. We'd love for them to learn all the classes, but I know that that's not possible for everybody.
Yep.
They can go to my video bank and find some of those things.
Yes, they can actually. And the other added benefit that we don't okay, if I said I talked to my son about this and about starting exercise range, most of the time these young guys, they're like, I'm just going to go to the gym and I'm just going to hit these machines and then I'm going to come home and I'm
going to do the things that I see on Instagram and then I'm going to go.
And I'm like, you can do that, but you're not going to do it tomorrow. You're going to wreck yourself.
Right.
Right. So then you've got this, that could hurt you. But I said, if you did 5 push-ups every morning when you got up for a week, just 5, and sit-ups and squats and dips, that's it, 5. Like, start small, right? And then build up. Eventually, you will be conditioned for that, for the heavier weights.
Right.
Right. So if we start, what are your thoughts on, and I know this administratively, it's going to be crazy for somebody, because I'm thinking in the workplace, but if you start with a new hire, your warm-up is going to be like, follow this regimen for the first week.
Right.
And then the second week you move up to this, or does it not matter? Just do the squats, or do the movements.
For us, we're kind of in the here's the routine, do the movements.
Right.
But there's always that emphasis of go at your own pace.
Know your own limitations.
Okay. Personal responsibility. I love so much.
We all love it, but because we're talking about such a big group, right?
Right.
So we go with a shotgun approach. But then we also then have to manage all the exceptions,
right,
that come from that,
which happen, and that is a bit of a logistics deal. But proper communication is key. Follow up to any new initiative that you're rolling out, right? I mean, anything you're going to have to be like, did you understand that? Are they hearing it right? Are they, bringing it back
following
to the
up
table?
With them
it's
after
the same
they started, right?
As any sort of safety initiative. Good. So it's the same process where here's the program, here's how to do it, and it's just repetitive. So we have a train the trainer program also, which took me a long time to have the trust to do. Just in my head, kind of, I'm like, okay, people leading, that's good to learn because then you're learning it more yourself. But so repetitive, right? We're spinal twisting on purpose. Go at your own pace, know your limits. But it's also a really great way to, if someone's starting out and they're not used to twisting, and they're like, well, I just had a couple inches, and then now I'm 3 months into this daily program, and I'm like, whoa, look at that.
That's what I was going to hit on, is the benefit on the backside, even though it is direct, but we don't think of it in this term, so I'm going to say it's an indirect benefit, is that you have workers now that are getting conditioned.
Yes.
So everyone wants to start with, well, the reason why we have injuries is because they're not conditioned. Well, let's get them conditioned.
There.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And at least the conversation happens. So again, I just want to always come back to the fact that I know not everybody can roll out a whole new program and do the things, but you can have the conversations.
Yeah.
You can have the toolbox talks or all the things on that of, maybe you can measure how many times you're squatting per day, because you sit down in a chair and you stand back up. That's kind of a squat.
Yeah, it is a squat.
But there's many ways to do it and roll it out. I think exposure to it's really important. Random question that's now in my brain that I don't think we talk about enough on the lifting end of things is that a deadlift is never talked about.
Are deadlifts bad?
No.
I mean, because you go to the gym, you do them all. I do them.
Right.
I have kettlebell. I do them at home. I don't go to the gym because gyms are weird. That's just me.
But deadlifts are one of the power moves, like a squat, a deadlift, a push, and a pull. Yeah. Like they're some of the main components of your body's lifting. And like there's certain areas where if you have something in front of your knees and it's a heavy object, a deadlift is a better lift.
Yeah, you can't always squat.
Correct.
Right.
Nor I can't even squat like some of those posters are. The like staggered, full down. Like
we talked about this.
Your butt is almost on the floor. I'm like, I don't get back up from that.
My dancing days are over. I'm not. I'm not dropping it.
They're like bend with your knees, not your back, and then I'm like, and then I can't get up.
And then I fall over. Yeah.
I would rather deadlift things, but I think it's not talked about. Because there's a certain level of, it involves a spinal posture cue.
Right.
Right? You want to have, which now, super interesting, there's a lot more conversations like, well, what does it matter if someone rounds and slumps? And then
if there's change.
I'm going to read up on that more because there's some people, there's something called the Jefferson lift. Someone can look it up. It's actually like you stand on a box, you hold a weight, and you actually slump down one vertebrae at a time.
Rolling.
You roll on purpose your whole spine, and then you roll back up.
That helps condition that.
Yes. So it's definitely, I like the fact that it's your awareness is there, and it's intentional what you're doing. You're doing it slow. You're not doing it fast. So there's all the things out there. I try to put this knowledge into work applications, right? And I still kind of go back to, I still like to have better posture when possible. I don't want them totally slouching and then twisting. You don't want to do that curl with a twist. So it opens a little bit of a Pandora's box there, but
what you're doing, like you're blowing my mind. I know, and I would encourage anybody listening or watching. By the way, the video is on the Safety Pro community site as well. But one of my favorite topics that I talk about a lot is like root cause analysis and how we got to stop blaming the person. We got to look at the process, right? But yet, when in this topic, it's we're always assuming the worker, like we're trying to fix the worker. So what you just talked about, let's say as an example, hypothetical, the Jefferson lift, right? If somebody is at a workstation or computer and we know they're going to eventually, because it's human nature, we know, we can anticipate a lot of human behavior. Right. We know, because we're human too. Right. If we know they're going to roll round the shoulders, right? They're going to go forward. Yep. Head's going to go forward. Back. If we know that's going to happen, then maybe we build in some micro breaks and we incorporate that getting back up, like so that we can build resilience.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. Yeah. Right. And it focuses on a process by which we condition them. We don't just try to tell them don't do this. Right. Because that's just never going to work. No. It's not going to work.
It's the elephant in the room, don't think about white elephants and then you think about white elephants, kind of whatever that is psychologically. Yes. Yeah. But so, just to back up a little, so deadlifts aren't really that hard to teach. And that's one thing. Like when we teach movement classes, so we have our stretch and flex and train the trainers and those sort of upgrades. Our movement classes, I don't train the trainer on because you're teaching movement and coaching movement. And I think that's maybe why people are hesitant to add it. But still, to see the squats and the lifts that they're putting on posters makes me cringe all the time. So I'm kind of like, well, you're coaching a squat essentially. Well,
so for example, to your point, I'm not qualified to to coach people through essentially what would be an exercise regimen routine.
Right.
Okay, I'm not qualified for that. There's a lot of risk that I'm assuming if I'm like, yeah, do this 5 times every day. I'm going to watch you do it and coach you how to do it.
Right.
So when it comes to trainer programs, what should we be looking for? Like, what can a lay person do or shouldn't do, in your opinion, according to Lori?
According to Lori. That took me a while to come around, because before I was like, no, I really don't want them teaching the stretching either. However, I believe someone who doesn't have the background has enough knowledge of posture and movement, what they feel like anyway, and what they're going to be going through day in and day out. It's the same program. It's not crazy.
They just have to learn it, right?
It's not lifting. Yeah, they just learn it. But we go over, modifications. We go over, what's, if someone's like, oh, my knees hurt when I do that, here are, some options, how to cue them. So that comes up a lot in our train the trainer classes. Is like, I don't want them to all of a sudden strength coach out their squat, right? However, certain cues, like take an athletic posture, or like you're sitting down in a chair, right? So the things that are usual cueing points, and then find a buddy. Like if you're slouching while you're doing that, that's just not good posture. So most people know good posture. So
everyone should have a grandma at work.
Yes.
Sit up straight. That's what my Nana would always say.
Yeah, right? To do the things to where I do suggest occasionally, although HR does not like me for this, is that I believe you should have a buddy system and squirt guns.
Squirt guns? Squirt people?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there could be some safety issues with that if you're working around electrical equipment, maybe, or something like that.
However,
but I like it. I like where you're going.
And then I'm like, well, maybe a rubber band or something, like, ching. Right, because it works with cats. You're slouching and you get squirted and you're like, oh shoot, I was supposed to stand up.
It works with cats. Okay.
All right,
I love it. No, that's perfect. I love it. See, that's why I like you're always thinking. Yeah. Okay, so so we talked about like twisting. So if I know that I'm going to be taking this object from this position to this position, and we've traditionally been taught I gotta shuffle, face it, pick it up, keep it close to me, shuffle. I don't twist and turn like it. I gotta point my toes in the direction first and then go. We know that once you smooth everything out, that's not happening.
Right.
So what do we tell our work? What should we be telling them then? I mean, I know you say we should be conditioning them.
Right.
But do we tell them or send the signal it's okay to twist? Or are we saying amongst ourselves as professionals, it's inevitable, it's going to happen, so here's how you can prepare for that.
I like that. I like that, prepare for the worst kind of thing, but I don't even like language, right? So there was a conversation I was having online with someone that, what were they saying? They're like, it's deadly lift to do that. And I was like,
really?
Why are we even putting that out there?
Yeah.
Like, it's not deadly. If you strain your back, it really hurts bad. We've been through that, right?
Mm-hmm. I have. Yeah.
We had that conversation on a previous moment that if your muscles are really talking to you in ways that shouldn't, but you have not just broken your back. You have not just paralyzed yourself. So, because you haven't fallen from anything or been struck by something. So deadly lifts are I just don't like to go there with words.
That kind of hyperbole, I just said hyperbole, is it's like any other language that we use that's inflammatory, is it minimizes things that are actually deadly.
Right.
If everything's deadly, then don't do it. We shouldn't be doing anything. Literally, that's crazy.
Great point. So I don't want people to be paranoid of. So we take it to the approach of, you're probably going to be twisting.
Yeah.
And don't like whip yourself around. You always want to have control. Mm-hmm. One of my other favorite sayings is muscles don't like to be surprised.
Yes, you did tell us that on one of your many previous episodes
that should be a t-shirt, really, because if you think in that
don't
sense.
Don't surprise my muscles.
Don't surprise your muscles. Don't sneak up on them.
Don't sneak up on them.
Because if it's the weight's all of a sudden too heavy or you go too fast, I mean, when you do anything, that's going to be a problem. But if we deal with awkward work situations more often than not. We do also work in controlled environments of, manufacturing, things like that. But I love the unusual. I love trying to troubleshoot when you're inside of a boiler and trying to figure out how to lift and move things. And you're in this, itty bitty space, confined space movement. You roll over, you're twisting.
Yeah.
So the conversation always starts with, don't surprise your muscles. Let's go through this in a conditioned way. Breathing is very big to coach because you don't want to hold your breath, but your core muscles and all the things that are involved in that spinal twisting and protection just need to be a part of the conversation. So I don't want to say, don't ever twist. And I don't want to say, twist away, do whatever you want. It's, again, just knowing you need to be in control of your own motions. And it's, again, the conversation of flexibility versus mobility, where mobility means you have control over your emotions.
And the other thing is you're right. We don't work that way. We don't work in these very robotic, I'll use the word robotic, motions. Like, I'm just imagining somebody loading boxes onto a cart and then having to shut the door to the cart and then reach up and latch it and then turn around and grab it and start to walk. All those things, if we're not warming up to do that, preparing to do that, or conditioning ourselves before each shift, and then maybe in the middle of the shift, doing some opposite stuff, right?
Yes.
Like that's probably contributing to more injuries than doing the actual movement, right? It's not the movement, it's there's something else. I can't really put my finger on it. You could explain it better, but
so don't surprise your muscles.
Right.
I mean, it's that concept of and your neuroplasticity, right? We're gonna go big word episode.
Big word episode.
That your body needs to understand how those movements can adapt, and that you learn once you get more mobility out of it, you continue. It's starting any job that's somewhat physical. I remember one of our first clients was a frat company out in based out of Denver, Calgary actually, but I would ask people, I was like, what was the most sore in your first couple weeks of work? They're like, everything hurt. Everything hurt all the time. Yeah. And it's sort of this, I don't want to minimize that work because that's amazing work.
Yes, it is.
I recently started rollerblading again after
because of your hip.
7-8 years.
You looked at it for your hip?
Well, yeah, I love to rollerblade. I hate to run.
Do you really?
Oh gosh, no. If you steal my tequila, I will run after you. But that is the only moment.
We figured out how to get Lori to run. The next video will be me running down her street with a bottle, and she's just after me. She might have that hockey stick or that golf club in her hand. But
So I don't like running.
Okay.
I love to rollerblade, and I just hadn't done it for a while, and then my hip started bugging me, and then I had a hip replacement. But I was like, that's great. Rotational balance and all the things, right? But I strapped them on, and the first time I went out, I swear I was like jello, and they were burning, a
little shaky,
and I was so sore afterwards. And I was like, this is what it's like to start a new job right. That's physical and go through that. This is why it's important to go slow, because then there was another day where I did 2 in a row, and I was like, I was way too sore. That was a bad idea. Fracking, you can't all of a sudden take the day off. So again, another conversation to have is recovery. How do you deal with that? Can you rotate tasks a little bit? That's important to have, but this is where the work conditioning is so important. Do the best you can to get new hires to have a slower schedule and a slower pace. Can you put them on a different work task after they've just been hauling around a bunch of iron or in confined spaces or something like that? That's important too.
You're reminding me of something. When I was in the fire department, first starting out, going through basic, right? So I hadn't even started yet. And you exercise, you work out, because it's very physical demanding, and you're wearing the air pack and you're wearing the gear, and that was fine. You know what did it for me? Hose. When we did all the exercises, practicals with the hoses, like pulling the hoses off the engine, put on a shoulder and walking it out,
Yeah.
overcoming that friction and the weight, and to flop that out, have the engine pull away, and we're like,
Right.
and just rolling it back up and hooking them up, and then
that.
the next day, I was like, what did I do to myself?
Because you cannot simulate some things.
Yeah.
You can condition to a point.
Yeah. But that was none of the exercises and workouts I was doing either targeted or addressed those muscle groups or that posture, that motion, that movement. I just started doing it, and oh man, I almost couldn't make it the next day.
And so much of that, think about it, is 3-dimensional movement.
Yeah.
You're turning and hauling. You're
not just turning. You're turning and reaching and pulling back and
right. And then adjustments, those quick little I still have to have it on my shoulder, and all the things that you just need to do to learn.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right. So then, again, just going back to the education, I don't think we should say never lift and twist. So granted, not everybody's going to, be a firefighter or go in the oil field or do those highly physical tasks. However, warehouse staff, when you're having to reach to the back of a pallet and get the, something that's awkward and heavy and you can't hold it right, all the things just need to mentally train for and physically be ready for.
Yeah, or you're placing items and this one's got to go behind that one, so I'm going to hold this one and I'm going to reach and pull this one to the side, and then I'm going to put it, and it's like if we were to do an observation, we would say, "Oh, don't do that." Right? But it's like it's not practical. Nobody's going to squat down like an elevator, drop it between their legs, stand straight up, shuffle. Move that little box to the side. Nobody's going to do that. They're going to be like, I got to get this in here, you know? So simulating movements that are close to approximation to what they're going to be doing to warm them up, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Where can folks go to see your resources? Where you have them?
You can go to balancebio.com and go to the sign-in on the Fit Stop sign-in. Okay. That right now can get people into a promotional, you can see it all for free, plan.
Is it because you launched, right?
Yep, we launched. So have at it. We're getting all the things. And granted, I'm trying to figure out, there's certain levels that, like, if a worker, I'm going to leave it free for individual workers that don't have this at their company to have access to. Yeah. If someone comes across and they're already a lineman or, doing the work out there and they want access, I'm totally giving that for free.
Nice.
Just so you know.
That's cool.
Because this is ultimately meant to be a company package to help it all because of all the resources that are out there to help. Yeah. However, my favorites are the boots on the ground. I really want them to move better and feel better and last longer.
They keep the country moving.
Exactly. So balancebio.com is where you're going to find the little sign in, and there's a contact form right on the homepage if you want to have a conversation about it.
And it's the Fit Stop.
The Fit Stop resources.
I like it.
Yes.
That's awesome. Thanks again, Lori, for joining us the 6th time. And she's a regular, everybody. So go ahead and check her stuff out. We're going to have links in the show notes.
Of course.
And you're always on social media. You're on LinkedIn. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to say this. So you're on social media. You're on LinkedIn, and you do some posts. You do cross-share some stuff.
Oh, I do.
But you do make sure that it is channel-specific.
I do try to talk to certain audiences on some things, for sure.
Because you also do these videos on TikTok, right?
Oh, I do. And yes, TikTok's way more casual.
Instagram and stuff, but they're funny but they're still relevant. You're still addressing some of these common issues.
Well, and it's just life that happens along the way. So yeah, all my adventures in rollerblading is on my TikTok and my Instagram stories. So if
the moving when you were packing, it's like it's good to hear that though, because. Well, you move too, right? And so, you're because of what you do for a living and this education and expertise that you have, but you also are a person. You had to pack your whole house up and move, so you have something to share with us.
Also, getting older person.
And,
it's
that would be me. Right? Yeah, that would be me. All right. So, what else? There was something else I was going to say. And now I can't remember what it was. And because there's just always so much
We'll wait here in dead silence.
That we talk, because everybody listening and watching loves that. They love, especially with audio podcast. Silence.
That's
is
why we have
good.
editing.
That's right. We do have editing. And I think it was along the lines of the TikTok videos, and there was something I wanted to point out. You drag your family into some of these.
The one of my son in the Balance?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes. That's going to be a whole new episode, just so you know. That's got to be coming.
Okay.
Because I've gotten so much response from the old man test is what it started out with. I think it started on TikTok. The old man test of, can you stand on one foot, pick up a sock, put it on, pick up a shoe, and vice versa. And I love balance stuff. I'm good at it because I was a gymnast, but I think it's super important to have. And then I was like, let me try my 12-year-old son. See, I noticed, because he wanted to try it, and his balance sucked.
But you had a point to make about, like, in their development, their whatever phase of development they're in, right?
Yes.
You start from where you are, right?
Correct.
You manage from where you are.
And how they're growing so fast, they have to adapt quicker. So this is why it's a cool other episode, just how the brain adapts and how the brain is also involved a lot.
See, and we always end up with the next episode topic whenever we get together. That's funny. I had a family friend, we talked about getting older, had issues with balance, falling over. Falling when you're older, you touched on this too, by the way. Talked about getting up off the floor.
That's right. Yes.
Squat more for tacos. You did that video. She had issues with that. She went to, where I live, we have a balance center, like a center for balance and studies and like.
Really cool.
Yes. So people think immediately like, we're going to work on, you're going to do these exercises, you're going to do these things to help you with your balance. It was her eyes.
Yeah.
She had she was developing a vision problem, and she would walk and eventually go sideways.
Oh, that's huge.
They corrected it, and she's walking the dog. She's getting around. Yeah. So get help. I talk to somebody, right?
Yes.
That specializes in this, because she would have never found that out.
There's a huge resource on all of that stuff. Yeah. Z Health.
Oh, okay.
Z Health does amazing cool things with neurological exercises and all the things from like push the tongue on the top of your mouth as you're standing on one leg and see if that helps you. And then cover up one eye, look up, go there.
Press the tongue on the roof of your... I thought that was for brain freeze.
It's that too, right?
Oh, okay.
You can get it for both.
You can get it for both. All right.
So eat your ice cream on one foot.
Eat your ice cream on one foot. I don't know if I want to do that. I'll try it though, and I won't put it on the TikToks. I'll just send it to you.
Okay, fine. And I will put it on.
You'll put it on TikTok. Okay. Well, that's the fun we have, right, Lori? So we've got our next topic.
Yes.
We've got resources. I'll put links to Z
Health.
Z Health.
Yep. And
Z-Wave. I said Z-Wave. You know what Z-Wave is?
No.
It's the technology for Internet of Things, how certain devices connect to the internet. They use Z-Wave technology.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's how stupid, ridiculous I am with this stuff.
That's just a geeky.
That is totally nerd thing to come up with. So Z Health.
Z Health and balancebio.com.
Yes.
And get all the fun video in the members area, because I think I talk with my hands way too much.
But that's what we love. And we didn't hit the table a single time when we did this recording. So awesome. Good job. And we're going to go pet the dogs.
Yes.
Again, because I think they're going through withdrawal right now.
I'm sure they're right outside the door.
That's right. All right. Thanks again for joining us.